Got a kitty. No, well, we're getting a... I don't know. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
I don't know.
We're going to feeder supply that just says pet food. We're not going to pet food. We're going to get a baby kitty.
Yeah.
Well, we have the baby kitty.
Yeah, we're bringing it to the apartment.
Yeah.
A little baby kitty. It's this big.
It's that big.
Yeah, it's really playful and energetic and it loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 We're excited.
Yeah.
So, there was a bit of an issue. As soon as we got out of the car, we realized that there's some weird crap going on. Adam is not happy right now. He's very, very sad.
Oh god, the fucking
What?
bus.
What? Oh, honey, it's just a... It's
No.
fine.
Get my car.
We may have to pay for car repairs. But we got a carrier, a litter box, scratcher, all of that fun stuff. And we were going back to my house to wait for Adam's dad to go there to look at the car and tell us exactly how much money we'll probably need to be spending on it.
Yeah, whether or not we get to go home.
That too, yeah. Yay!
You know what really pisses me off? Just what really pisses me off, like, is when someone's talking about doing something, someone's talking about making a decision, or someone's asking a question about a decision they've made. And instead of being remotely helpful, remotely supportive about said decision, question, what have you, I'm being very vague here, but there's a couple specific examples I'll have. They just say, oh, you're doing it wrong. Oh, there's no reason to do that. Oh, why are you doing this? Thinking that they're on some intellectual high horse when their lack of open mind as to what that person wants to do makes them a complete fucking idiot. So I'm going to switch cameras here and rant for a second as I want to show a YouTube comment. Alright, so I've been catching up on some vlogs from Mr. Eli the Computer Guy on his Failed Normal Vlog channel. Quite the interesting experience to see. Well, in a couple of his vlogs, he's mentioned his new Sony camera that he got to record 4K videos. Now, this is back in February. I don't think he's actually using it anymore, but he was making the jump to 4K. And then this fucking douchebag, and this, I'm using this as a representative sample of the stuff I see. Not necessarily calling out the specific person, although that's inevitable by showing an example. He says, you are certainly forward-thinking and ahead of the curve with adopting 4K ultra-high definition, but it's going to be a while before 1080p is obsolete. I guess that's an okay thing to say on its own. But then Eli goes on to say, 1080p will probably never be obsolete, just like standard definition isn't entirely obsolete, it's used everywhere. And that's my own commentary there. But if you have the option to do 4K, why not? Exactly, that's a big fucking deal. There's tons of reasons to use 4K. And if he bought the 4K camera, there's nothing wrong with doing it because being future ready is always a good thing. I'm surprised to see my crappy 6.5-year-old vids still get decent traffic. It seems funny, but realistically the vids I create now will probably be still watched 10 years from now, which means you want high resolution. No one likes going back and watching older videos from 2008 and 2009 that are 240p, they only take up this much of your screen and they're pixelated to all hell. I've noticed the high quality thing with Hulu Netflix. Some shows from back in the 90s look like pixelated crap and are hard to watch on a new screen, whereas some like the X-Files and Seinfeld are actually in high quality. We literally binge watched the X-Files, which started over 20 years ago, and a big reason is because the picture quality doesn't make my eyes hurt. I'd argue the extra few bucks for a decent 4K camera is worth it if you're trying to create videos for a living, ... Also, 8K is a real thing. Wasn't that long ago that 60-inch screens seemed ridiculous and 100-inch screens could become relatively normal in the near future. Absolutely. And then this dude decides to pop back, he couldn't just let it go. Well, here's the deal. Display technology is developing so rapidly that all the new technology is diminishing returns in terms of adoption. And just goes on to explain why, like, oh, people aren't using it yet. It doesn't fucking matter. When I'm watching a video in a 720p preview on here or on a tiny full screen video, if I go up from 140p, 4P to 4K, it's going to look better at 4K, even though I'm watching it on a 4K screen, but in a 720p window, or I drag it over here to my 1080p screen, it's still going to look fucking better. There's no reason to tell someone not to use it just because, oh, people don't have 4K screens yet. But just, I wanted to test, it was a custom controller. I wanted to test it for review purposes, and I wanted to play some Call of Duty 4. Hundreds, it had to have been hundreds, not thousands, but hundreds of forum posts of people asking the same question. Not a single, okay, there was like 2 out of the at least 20. I clicked on 20 different links. So out of probably the dozens of forum posts that I read of people being like, how do I do this? Every other game nowadays supports controllers. Why doesn't Call of Duty 4? The only response? Oh, you're a noob. You shouldn't use a game controller for a PC game. Mouse and keyboard is better. Just use the mouse and keyboard, you scrub loser. What if the person just wants to fucking use a controller? What if they don't have a good mouse and keyboard? What if they're on a laptop and they have a keyboard and trackpad? You can't play a shooter with a trackpad. What if their mouse is broken? What if they just want to fucking use a controller because that's an option a human being should fucking have? There's no reason to say, oh, you shouldn't do that perfectly logical thing to do because this thing is objectively, subjectively better in my opinion that I'm going to display as fact. Hate it when people do that. I hate people who do that. It makes me so freaking mad, especially when I'm searching for the same question. I use a PC for most things. Yes, I understand PC Master Race. Suck a fucking dick.